The fluorescent lights of the Franklin Public Library hummed a low, steady note, a sound as familiar to me as my own heartbeat. For 6 years, this had been my sanctuary, my second home. The scent of old paper and lemon-scented polish was my perfume. I, Chloe Anderson, at 28, knew every warped floorboard in the fiction section and the exact pressure needed to jiggle the lock on the staff break room dot. It was a Thursday, which meant returns were piled high on the trolleys. My lower back ached from a stubborn yoga pose I'd attempted the night before, a futile effort to combat the stiffness of a life spent shelving and stooping. I was in the history aisle, a narrow canyon of books on the American Civil War, trying to slot a heavy, oversized volume back into its spot on the bottom shelf. With a soft grunt, I bent over at the waist, my dark ponytail swinging forward. The book was stubborn, the shelf tight. I was fully focused, my world narrowed to the task of persuading the book to fit. In that vulnerable, head-down position, I was acutely aware of the space behind me. The library was quiet, but not silent. The soft rustle of pages turning, the distant tap-tap-tapping of a keyboard, the faint whisper of the automatic doors opening and closing dot, and then a new presence. I felt him before I saw him. A shift in the air, a subtle shadow falling over me. He was right behind me. My body went rigid. This was it, the moment women are taught to fear from a young age. That vulnerable position in a deserted aisle, the unknown man encroaching on your space. A cold dread trickled down my spine. My mind raced, preparing for the worst and unwelcome touch. A lewd comment, a threat. What he did next changed everything. His voice, when it came, was low, calm, and devoid of any threat. It was simply informative. "Ma'am, you dropped this." I straightened up so quickly I saw stars. Clutched in my hand was the Civil War book. In his, held out towards me, was my small, worn leather wallet. My face flushed a hot, mortified red. I must have pulled it from my back pocket when I retrieved my keys earlier. My heart, which had been hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, now stuttered in confusion. I looked from the wallet to the man holding it. He was older, maybe in his late 60s, with a kind, weathered face and eyes the color of a summer sky. He was dressed neatly in a simple plaid shirt and dark trousers. There was no malice in his expression, only a gentle patience. "Oh my God," I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "Thank you. I didn't even feel it fall." "Easy to do," he said with a small, understanding smile. He didn't linger. He didn't try to make conversation. He simply handed me my wallet, gave a slight, polite nod, and turned to walk away. His soft-soled shoes making no sound on the carpet. I stood there, frozen, the weight of my own assumption crushing me. I had judged him. I had prepared for a monster, and I had been met with a gentleman. The shame was a physical weight, hot and heavy in my chest. I watched his retreating form until he disappeared around a corner into the biography section. For the rest of the day, I couldn't shake the encounter. Every time I bent over to pick something up, the memory flashed back. The fear, the immediate defensiveness, and then the profound, humbling relief. It wasn't just about the wallet. It was about my worldview. I considered myself a good person, a kind person. But in that split second, I had revealed a deep-seated bias. An automatic fear I hadn't even realized was so ingrained. The following Thursday, he was back. I saw him perusing the new arrivals, his movements slow and deliberate. This time, I had the courage to approach him. "Excuse me?" I said, my voice a little shaky. He turned and those calm blue eyes settled on me. There was a flicker of recognition. I wanted to thank you again. For last week. With my wallet. "It was no trouble at all," he said. His name, he told me, was Arthur. "Arthur Miller. I'm Chloe," I replied. "I work here." "I know," he said, and his smile widened just a fraction. "I've seen you. You're always so helpful with the children during story hour." We talked for a few minutes. He was soft-spoken, his words chosen with care. He asked me if I was a reader, and I admitted I was mostly fiction. He told me he preferred history. "The older I get, the more I need to understand where we all came from," he'd said. It was a simple conversation, but it felt significant. I was dismantling the phantom I'd created the week before and replacing him with a real person, and so a routine began. Every Thursday afternoon, Arthur would come in. Sometimes we'd just exchange a nod and a smile. Other times, we'd talk for 10 or 15 minutes. He was a retired high school history teacher, a widower of 5 years. His wife, Eleanor, had been the talker, the social one. The library, he confessed, was his way of staying connected to the world without having to shout over the noise of it. I started looking forward to Thursdays. Our conversations became the highlight of my week. We talked about books, of course, but also about life. He had a quiet wisdom that I craved. He never lectured, but he asked questions that made me think. When I complained about the petty dramas with some of the other library staff, he didn't offer solutions. Instead, he said, "You know, Chloe, sometimes the loudest battles are fought over the smallest patches of ground. It's okay to just tend your own garden." He was tending his. He told me about the community garden he volunteered at and how he was trying to grow tomatoes that actually tasted like tomatoes, not the bland red water balloons you find at the supermarket. One rainy Thursday, about 2 months after the wallet incident, the library was particularly quiet. Arthur found me reshelving books in the travel section. "Chloe," he began, his tone more hesitant than usual. "I have a favor to ask. It's a bit of an imposition." "Of course, Arthur, anything." He explained that his daughter, Sarah, lived across the country. She was coming for a visit in a few weeks and wanted to throw him a birthday party. "She's insisting," he said with a sigh that was more fond than exasperated. "But most of my old friends have moved away well, I don't have many people to invite. It would mean a lot to me if you would come. You've become a good friend." The request and his words touched me deeply. "I'd be honored, Arthur." The party was held in the community room of his apartment complex. It was a small, simple affair. His daughter Sarah was a warm, energetic woman in her 40s who hugged me the moment I arrived. "So you're the famous Chloe," she exclaimed. "Dad talks about you all the time. Says you're the only person under 70 who knows how to have a real conversation." There were a handful of other guests, a neighbor, a couple from the garden, and me. It was quiet and lovely. As I was leaving, Arthur walked me to my car. "Thank you for coming, Chloe," he said. "It meant more than you know." He hesitated, then reached into his jacket pocket. I have a birthday present for you." I was taken aback. "Arthur, it's your birthday." "I should be giving you a present." "Humor an old man," he said, his eyes twinkling. He handed me a small, flat box, neatly wrapped. "Don't open it now. Open it when you get home." Driven by curiosity, I opened it the moment I walked through my apartment door. It wasn't a book, as I'd expected. It was a picture frame, and inside the frame wasn't a photo, but a single, crisp $100 bill. Behind the bill was a handwritten note on a piece of lined paper. I pulled the note out, my confusion mounting. It read, "Dear Chloe, this isn't a gift. It's a repayment. You see, 30 years ago, in a library much like ours, I was a young father struggling. My car had broken down, and I didn't have the money to fix it. I was desperate. I saw a woman bend over to look at a book on a bottom shelf, and her wallet was right there in her back pocket. I took it. I stole it. I lived with the shame of that for 3 decades. I never forgot her face, the violation I had committed. When I saw you bend over, history was about to repeat itself. But this time, I had a choice. I could be the man I was, or the man I've tried to become. Thank you for giving me the chance to finally put things right. This money is what I estimate was in that wallet with interest. Please use it for something that brings you joy. You have brought a great deal of joy to an old man's life. Your friend. Arthur, I sank onto my couch, the note trembling in my hands. Tears welled in my eyes and spilled over. The entire story, our entire friendship, rewound and played back in my mind with this new, devastating context. The man I had feared was a phantom of my own making, but the man I had come to know was a phantom of his own past. He hadn't just been returning my wallet that day. He had been returning a stolen one from 30 years ago. He was atoning. He wasn't just a kind old man. He was a man who had fought a silent, brutal battle with his own demons in the history aisle of a library, and he had won. His simple act of decency had not just saved me from a moment of fear and financial loss. It had been the culmination of a 30-year journey toward redemption. I saw him the next Thursday. He was sitting in his usual chair by the window, a book about the Roman Empire open on his lap. He looked up as I approached, a question in his eyes. I didn't say anything. I simply leaned down and hugged him. It was a tight, heartfelt hug that said everything I couldn't put into words. I understand. I forgive you for a crime you committed against someone else. I see you. When I pulled away, his eyes were glistening. He patted my hand. Did you use the money for something joyful? He asked, his voice thick with emotion. I will, I promised. I'm still thinking about it. I never did cash that $100 bill.